Hello, welcome to season 1 of Story Chef, where we dive into different genres and discover what makes them tick. Today we're talking about how to write cozy science fiction. And if you're unfamiliar with this series, I've gone and used AI to do a huge analysis of multiple bestsellers in over 200 genres that I've identified through hours and hours of Amazon research. Actually going through scene by scene to identify all the tropes used, the overall flow of the plot, the character archetypes, and much more. Now, this is a lot more than just going through ChatGPT and asking like what tropes are in this genre, because it could hallucinate those or get things wrong, or the genre trends might be so new that it might not even know what they are. And when I do it this way through an actual analysis of actual books, we're getting far more accurate data. So with that in mind, let's dive into cozy science fiction. So this is a fairly niche genre, but it's one that I decided to do because it was one I was interested in potentially writing. So let's start with the tropes, the major tropes of this genre. And the number one here is found family. Strangers with nothing in common are thrown together by circumstance and ending up forming a bond tighter than blood. The next major trope is fish out of water. The protagonist is usually thrust into a confusing futuristic environment using their lack of knowledge as a vehicle of humor and audience. I found this to be true often especially for a lot of the examples that I analyzed. Although I think a lot of the times you can just have a more slice of life thing where the character isn't so much a fish out of water as it is just like we're just following someone around. AI robots as complex characters. The ship's computer or local droid isn't just a tool, but a fully realized character with sass, emotions, and agency. This is definitely true from the ones I looked at. Practical skills and MacGyvering. While the tech is advanced, the problems are often solved by protagonists using simple hands-on common sense or primitive skills. Personal stakes and emotional intimacy. We aren't trying to stop the Death Star here. We are trying to fix a relationship or find a place to belong. Again, that kind of goes into the slice of life thing, or just because this is cozy, we're not having galactic stakes here. It's more just about the characters, the relationships, that kind of thing. World building, used future and cozy spaces. The setting should feel lived in and comfortable, focusing on the maintenance of a home rather than the sterility of a laboratory. And this is probably one of the more important things. For me personally, I find the vibe of cozy sci-fi in my mind, I sort of imagine that as the Enterprise D, aka the Next Generation, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Now, I wouldn't say all of that show would be categorized as cozy sci-fi, but it's definitely very similar to that. You know, there's carpets, everything's cushioned, it kind of has a nice homey feel. That's kind of how I imagine cozy sci-fi, although certainly there would be endless variations of that kind of vibe that we could be going for. Low conflict, gentle problem resolution. So problems are solved through communication, empathy, and cleverness rather than violence or aggression. And the character arcs are usually from outsider to integrated member. Again, this kind of goes for your typical story, but not for a slice of life story. The journey also almost always involves a lonely or cynical character finding their specific place within a community. All right. And those are like the major tropes, right? So I also have more common tropes that you might find, but aren't necessarily required. We got blind dates, bad dates from hell. The protagonist navigates a series of disastrous social encounters, highlighting the absurdity of dating in the future. So that's definitely one that fits in that slice of life kind of thing. Opposites attract. You can take two characters with vastly different backgrounds or species and forcing them to interact until they realize they complement one another. I think this is a great, that kind of opposites attract trope is useful in any genre, but works specifically well for science fiction, I think. The retired badass, a character appearing to be a boring old shopkeeper or pilot, but is revealed to have a highly dangerous set of skills that they laid down long ago. I really like this one. This is the kind of thing this is one of my favorite tropes, just generally. Marriage of convenience, two characters getting hitched for logistical reasons, but arrangement is driven by genuine spontaneity and eventual love rather than cold strategy. The matchmaker AI, an artificial intelligence, decides it knows better than the humans and quietly manipulates events to bring a couple together. We have the grumpy sunshine dynamic. This is the classic pairing with the cynical pessimist is partnered with a relentless optimist. The narrative framing device. The story is told or supplemented by an AI that acts as a translator for the reader. We have time dilation. The characters deal with the melancholy reality of relativistic travel, often finding themselves stranded in a future where everyone they knew is gone. It might be a little dark for cozy sci-fi, but could be an added element. Technological disparity. The narrative highlights the stark contrast between primitive Earth habits and the advanced bureaucratic tech of aliens. We have the imposter or hidden identity. The character is terrified that their lack of credentials or true identity will be discovered by their new friends. As a spin-off of Found Family, you often have a adopted child or ward. And some of these others are just not so much tropes as they are just literary techniques like Chekhov's gun, foreshadowing. We got witness protection, refuge in audacity, scam becoming real, ensemble casts with diverse representation. That's definitely a big one. Slow burn romance. So if this is a cozy sci-fi that has romance, not all of them do, but cozies often have a layer of romance in them. Slow burns is a good way to go. Comfort, self-care, and wellness. The narrative pauses to explicitly focus on the characters resting, eating good food, and taking care of their mental health, which I think is great for science fiction, because in our current world, technology is often a source of anxiety, and I like the contrast of showing a future where technology is a source of rest and mental health, or at least it's the setting for that. All right, so those are the major and common tropes. I do have more fleshed out explanations on each one of these. And this, by the way, we're essentially looking at the book that I wrote on this, which you can get on Amazon. But I also have them at no extra charge inside of my membership, and we also just announced my new Story Hacker OS. And this genre is included in that Story Hacker OS tool, so that you can actually use this to write your own books in this genre. So go check that out if you're interested. Now, my favorite is the plot template that we developed by kind of kit bashing what all of these bestsellers in the genre are doing into a single plot template. And this goes literally chapter by chapter. We've got 24 chapters. So it starts with chapter 1, The Mundane Grind, which is essentially the protagonist is introduced in the middle of their ordinary working class routine, demonstrating their specialized practical skill. Okay, so that's kind of what we'd see here. Cracks in the routine. So the protagonist tackles a more challenging version of their normal work. So it's like an unusual day, right? Then there's some sort of disruption that happens. While in the middle of a mechanical task or routine errand, the protagonists are abruptly swept up by an overwhelming external force, whether through abduction, environmental catastrophe, forced relocation, or being trapped on a malfunctioning vessel that takes them somewhere unfamiliar. So, something happens. And then they encounter strange new faces. The protagonists begin navigating the social landscape of their new environment, forming a tentative alliance with a knowledgeable local. So this is the kind of thing that happens next, which is they encounter some new characters are introduced. Cramped quarters, so they'll be displaced and things might be a little uncomfortable at first, but of course this is a cozy, so that only goes so far. And then they fully cross the threshold. The protagonists achieve their first significant professional victory in the new setting, applying their unconventional skills to a problem the locals had considered impossible or too tedious. This is what in my book, The Plot Module, we refer to as earning respect. And chapter 7 is about the wider world. So we've kind of crossed the threshold, but this is the point where we kind of get to see like how big is this world that they have entered into. They get to see more of it, and they start building a home. Because this is a cozy, home is sort of important. So they become a little bit more settled in this new environment that they're in. They might develop romantic feelings between the protagonist and the love interest. There might be a quiet, intimate moment of bonding over shared media, food, or cultural exchange, that sort of thing. But there might be a sidekick, and that sidekick might get lonely. This is one of those chapters that kind of like goes off and talks about different characters that you might have. By the way, none of this is set in stone. You can absolutely modify this. In my tool that we developed, Story Hacker OS, we have the ability to modify any of these templates to your heart's desire. But then there's a new character in distress that arrives in the protagonist's orbit, whether through a damaged vessel, a desperate plea for help, or being found hiding within the infrastructure. And there's also a saboteur. So just as the protagonist's new life begins to feel stable, an external threat strikes their home, business, or community in the form of sabotage, vandalism, or hostile intervention. And again, this is cozy, so these are not world-shattering things that happen. It's just a disruption to the everyday. and there's some kind of devastating truth. So the protagonist performs a routine task with ease, demonstrating mastery of their new circumstances. However, a casual conversation, an overheard transmission, or delivered piece of news reveals a devastating truth about the nature of their displacement. Their home is gone, time has passed beyond recovery, the physical changes to their bodies are permanent, or returning has become categorically impossible. Stuff like that. Then they process the loss. So in the aftermath of the devastating revelation, the character processes their new reality in distinctly different ways. So there's a number of ways that could go. But then they double down on the life that they are in. So they're fully committed. This is kind of the midpoint, you could call it, of the story, where they double down on the life that they are in. And then the investigation deepens. So now that they are committed, they look into some of these issues that have been going on. And from here, there's an expansion and allies. So they travel to neighboring communities or neighboring station or market to expand their network, market their services, or gather supplies, putting their new business model to the real test. Their efforts are largely successful, but also reveal additional layers of the setting's social and political complexity, etc. The antagonist strikes is after that. So the antagonist strikes directly at the protagonist's newly built life, targeting their home business, found family, or a vulnerable newcomer in the calculated acts of intimidation or harm. The attack is more personal and devastating than the earlier sabotage, threatening the foundations of everything the protagonist has built. Once again, this is more on a personal stakes and less so about anything like universe shattering. But there is an all is lost moment, as there is in pretty much every book, where the protagonist faces what appears to be complete unraveling of their new life. So things are not going well. But then there's some kind of truth revealed. The protagonist discovers the truth behind the apparent betrayal. So they're just digging into that a little bit more. Then there's setting the trap. So they're starting to put a plan into motion to overcome the antagonist, which leads to the climax. The plan unfolds in a high-stakes confrontation where the protagonist applies their practical, mundane skills against the antagonist's sophisticated resources, turning the environment itself into a weapon or trap. The conflict involves engineering, environmental hazards, clever misdirection, or defensive technology rather than direct lethal force, because again, this is a cozy, keeping the resolution in line with the cozy tone, right? And then there's some aftermath. The dust settles, right? Antagonist is neutralized or exposed or brought to justice. And then there's the lifelong commitment. Amidst the relief and celebration, the protagonist makes a lifelong commitment to the love interest, using a humble symbol drawn from their shared journey rather than something extravagant. The team receives substantial rewards, etc., and they essentially settle into their new routine, which is the final chapter. The story concludes with a ceremonial gathering, communal celebration, or shared meal that brings together every ally encountered through the journey, reinforcing the theme of community and found family. Okay, so really settling into that cozy vibe, right? So that's the general plot. Now, I do have information inside the book about like how that would change if you're writing a sequel, because obviously some things like the character already understands the world that they're in and everything. So what changes, what stays the same, that sort of thing. And then we have the characters. So these are like the character archetypes or the character types. So we have a competent outsider as your typical main protagonist. You have the guarded protector, which is the deuteragonist or the love interest, or both. Starts as a rigid, grumpy, or intimidating figure with a dangerous background, who has built emotional walls to protect themselves from past trauma. I love the grumpy sunshine trope, by the way. It's such a fun one to play with. Initially, they view the protagonist as a nuisance, a liability, or a job to be managed, treating interactions with suspicion or professional distance. However, they are gradually disarmed by the protagonist's vulnerability and unorthodox competence. We've got information about their heart's desire, their character flaw, character demographics, etc. We have a vulnerable catalyst. So this is it'd be like a side character or a ward. This could be the adopted character, potentially. We have the benevolent manipulator. This could be a mentor or potentially even an AI or robot figure. This character is usually a fixture of the setting itself, such as a sentient spaceship, a station authority, or an ancient AI. So it could be something like that. The systemic antagonist. This character represents the cold, unfeeling nature of the universe or the bureaucracy that the protagonists are fleeing from. They act as an administrator, a corrupt captain, or a corporate functionary who prioritizes efficiency, profit, or rigid law over human empathy and cozy values. They do not typically have a redemption arc. Instead, they serve as a foil to the protagonist's practical humanity. Their arc ends in downfall, often via public exposure, arrest, or poetic justice, clearing the way for the protagonist to live in peace. All right. Last but not least, let's talk a little bit about the world building for cozy sci-fi. which I also have in this book. So high level, we've got the containment scale. So in this genre, you must establish a specific, usually enclosed scope for your narrative, such as a single space station, a colony ship, or a small planetary outpost rather than a galaxy-spanning empire. So that's very important for cozy. Like, we're kind of keeping the scale of the setting very, very closed. I like the idea of like a space station or a colony ship. Personally, makes it really feel like a place that you could settle down, and it could be like a home. There is a used future aesthetic. I would add to this that not just used, so not used in this sort of Star Warsy, grungy sense, but used in the sense of like a home, right? Should feel lived in, worn, and repurposed, avoiding the pristine, sterile white hallways of traditional space opera. So definitely avoid the sterile white hallways type of thing. But I also wouldn't go too far the opposite way where everything's like dark and gritty, but grounded home type stuff, definitely. We have the community hub, so you need to design essential gathering spaces, so like a pub, a mess hall, a market, a specific bar or diner. Definitely you want some kind of social gathering place involved in this. And domestic spaces, of course. And once again, I keep thinking of the USS Enterprise from The Next Generation. Had really home feeling domestic spaces for all of its main characters. So your world building must pay special attention to the private quarters and living arrangements of your protagonists, as making a home is a central theme of the genre. Okay, and then we got technology, so mundane and fallible tech, stuff that can just, you know, get messed up and needs replacing. Think like car mechanic type thing. And personified artificial intelligence usually plays a big role in this genre as well. As far as groups and races, we do have the alien neighbor. You should populate your world with diverse alien species who function as co-workers. I don't know if this is required, but certainly depending on the type of cozy that you're doing, having like friendly aliens, I think would be very useful. As well as class and vocation hierarchies. So you should clearly delineate the social stratifications based on profession, wealth, or species, often contrasting high rent diplomat zones with low rent maintenance decks, that kind of thing. Although I wouldn't go too far in terms of like wealth disparity, because that kind of brings it out of the cozy thing as well. This is an optimistic future that we're looking at, but there is going to be some kind of incompetent bureaucracy and found family units. As far as culture and daily life, we got food and hospitality, so you must build a robust culture around the production, preparation, and consumption of food. This apparently seems to be a big deal with cozies. And then there's the economy of scarcity and hustle. Characters in your world are rarely post-scarcity utopians, although there is some of that. They are usually motivated by debt, keeping the lights on, or saving for a modest dream. So like stuff we would be interested in, you know? And that's pretty much it. So we've got other information here inside of the book regarding to like themes and some notes on writing prose in this genre. I also have a template here for marketing considerations, like what do you title this thing? What does your book description look like? We have a template for that. And like I mentioned, we have our own proprietary software over at Story Hacker now, where you can actually write a book with these genres as your templates. So go check that out at the link down below, and I will see you in the next video.